What happens when your biggest enemy isn't a rival gang, but your own blood sister, and you're 9 months pregnant when she decides she wants your life and your baby? Imagine begging for help not from the police, but from a cold, legendary mafia grandmother who never forgives betrayal. Get ready for a story where one jealous sister pushes too far and triggers a disappearance that no one will ever officially investigate. Picture this. You're 9 months pregnant, barely able to breathe, and your jealous sister keeps showing up, watching you sleep, touching your belly like it already belongs to her. One night, she tries to take everything: your baby, your husband, your life. The only person who can stop her isn't a hero. It's your mafia grandmother, a woman who built an empire by making problems vanish. She doesn't just scare your sister, she erases her. Some betrayals can be healed. But what if your sister tries to harm your unborn child, knowing your family is pure mafia? Once your grandmother decides your sister is a threat, there is no going back. Now your husband, your grandmother, and the entire underworld machine are moving against your own blood. Will you protect your sister, or stand back and watch as your mafia grandmother makes her disappear forever? Hi, my beautiful family. Thank you so much for showing me so much love and support. Listen, if you're already hooked on today's story, and you can't wait to hear what happens, then do these 2 things right now. Like and subscribe so you catch tomorrow's equally amazing story. Let's continue. I was 9 months pregnant the night my sister tried to kill me. My belly was so heavy I could barely roll over in bed. Every kick from my baby felt like a tiny fist begging me to stay alive. Brooklyn was quiet outside, just sirens far away, and the hum of the city that never really sleeps. Inside my bedroom, it smelled like baby powder and blood. The baby powder was real. The blood was in my head, a memory I couldn't forget. My sister's fingers around my throat, her nails digging into my skin, her whisper in my ear, "You don't deserve this child." That was 2 weeks ago. Tonight, I woke up and saw her again. Standing in the dark corner of my room, not moving, just staring at my stomach like it was a gift she was waiting to unwrap. I screamed for my husband. I screamed so hard my belly turned to stone. But the footsteps that came down the hallway, slow, heavy, cold, they didn't belong to my husband. They belonged to my grandmother, the woman the entire neighborhood feared, the woman who once ran half of New York. She looked at my sister, then at me, and said very softly, "Enough. She disappears tonight." I couldn't stop dreaming about falling. Every night for 2 weeks, the same nightmare. I'm standing at the top of the stairs in our Brooklyn penthouse, my belly so heavy I can barely see my feet. Then someone's hand presses against my back. Not a push, just pressure, enough to make me lose balance. I fall forward, my arms reaching for something, anything. But there's only air, and the sharp edge of each step slamming into my ribs, my hips, my stomach. I always wake up before I hit the bottom. Tonight was different. Tonight, I woke up and remembered it wasn't a dream at all. 2 weeks ago, Seraphine came to visit. My little sister, the one I used to protect from neighborhood bullies when we were kids. She smiled at me with her perfect teeth and said she wanted to help me down the stairs because I looked unsteady. Her hand was on my back, gentle at first, then it wasn't. I grabbed the railing just in time. When I looked back at her, she was staring at my belly, not at me, at my stomach, like she was calculating something. Her eyes were cold and hungry, and for just a second, I saw it. Pure hate. "Careful, Lyris," she whispered. "You're too old to be carrying a baby. Your body might just give out." I didn't tell Cassian. I told myself it was an accident, that I imagined the look in her eyes, that pregnancy hormones were making me paranoid. I covered the bruises on my arms with long sleeves and smiled through dinner that night, pretending everything was fine, but my body remembered. Now it was 2:47 inches the morning, and I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of Brooklyn outside our window, sirens in the distance, a dog barking. The baby kicked hard against my ribs, like a tiny fist trying to punch its way out. I whispered to my stomach, "I know. I'm scared too." Then I heard it, breathing, not mine. Not Cassian's soft snore beside me, someone else's. I turned my head slowly toward the bedroom door, and my heart stopped. There was a shadow standing in the doorway, tall, thin, perfectly still, watching me. I couldn't scream. My throat closed up. My belly tightened so hard I thought I might vomit. The baby kicked again, frantic this time. Like it could feel my terror, the shadow moved. One step into the room, I finally found my voice. "Cassian!" I screamed his name so loud my chest burned, but the footsteps that came down the hallway weren't his. They were slow, heavy, cold, and I knew exactly who they belonged to. The shadow in my doorway didn't move when I screamed. It just stood there, breathing softly, head tilted like it was listening to something I couldn't hear. My heart was slamming so hard against my ribs I thought it might break through. The baby inside me went still, like even it knew to hide. Then the hallway light clicked on, and I saw her face. Seraphine, my sister. She was wearing a long white nightgown that made her look like a ghost. Her hair was loose around her shoulders, and her eyes, God. Her eyes were locked on my stomach, not my face, not me, just the round, swollen curve of my belly under the blanket. Lyris, she whispered, and her voice was soft, almost loving. You're awake. I couldn't speak. My throat was dry. My hands were shaking. She took another step into the room. I've been watching you sleep, she said quietly. You look so peaceful. Like you don't even know what's coming. Seraphine, what are you? Shh. She pressed a finger to her lips, smiling. Don't wake him, Cassian. He was still asleep beside me, his chest rising and falling slowly. How was he not hearing this? Seraphine moved closer, her bare feet silent on the carpet. She knelt beside the bed, her face inches from mine now, and reached out. Her hand hovered over my belly, not quite touching, just floating there like she was feeling heat from a fire. You're too old for this, she whispered. 48 years old, Lyris. Your body can't handle it. Everyone knows that. The doctors told you it's high risk, your blood pressure, your age, your bones. She leaned in closer, her breath warm against my ear. What if you die giving birth? She asked softly. What happens to the baby then? My chest tightened. A sharp pain shot through my lower back, spreading around my hips. Not now. Please, not now. I could take care of it, Seraphine continued, her hand finally resting on my stomach. Her fingers pressed down gently, feeling the baby shift beneath her palm. I could raise it, love it, be the mother it deserves. Get your hand off me. My voice came out shaking, barely a whisper. She smiled. You don't mean that. Then the bedroom door slammed open. Cassian stood in the doorway, his eyes dark and sharp. He took one look at Seraphine kneeling beside me, her hand on my belly, and his entire body went rigid. What the hell are you doing here? His voice was low, dangerous. Seraphine's face changed instantly. The cold, hungry look vanished, replaced by wide, innocent eyes and a trembling smile. She stood up quickly, smoothing her nightgown like she'd just been caught doing something harmless. I brought soup, she said, her voice suddenly bright and sweet. Lyris texted me earlier saying she wasn't feeling well. I was worried, so I came by. The doorman let me up. Cassian's jaw tightened. At 3 a.m, I couldn't sleep, Seraphine said, shrugging. I've been so worried about her. She's my only sister, Cassian. I just wanted to make sure she's okay. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him the truth. But my throat was closed, and the pain in my back was getting worse. I pressed my hand against my stomach, trying to breathe through it. Cassian looked at me. Lyris, you okay? I nodded. A lie. He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. But Seraphine was already moving toward the door, still smiling that perfect, fake smile. I'll leave the soup in the kitchen, she said softly. Get some rest, big sister. She walked past Cassian, her shoulder brushing his arm, and disappeared into the hallway. The moment she was gone, Cassian closed the door and locked it. Then he pulled out his phone and made a call. Nonna, he said quietly. We have a problem. Nonna Vespera arrived the next morning at exactly 9 a.m. I heard her before I saw her, the slow, deliberate click of her heels on the marble floor of our penthouse. Each step echoed like a countdown. Cassian stood by the window, arms crossed, watching the door like he was waiting for an explosion. When she walked in, the air in the room changed. Nonna Vespera was 76 years old, but she moved like someone who had never been afraid of anything in her life. Her silver hair was pulled back into a tight bun, and her black dress looked like it cost more than most people's cars. She didn't smile. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough. She looked at me first. Her dark eyes scanned my face, then dropped to my arms. I'd worn a sweater to cover the bruises from 2 weeks ago, but somehow, I knew she could see them anyway. She always saw everything. Lyris, she said softly, her Italian accent still thick after 50 years in America. You look tired. I'm fine, Nonna, I lied. Her eyes narrowed. She didn't believe me either. Then the front door opened again, and Seraphine walked in. She was carrying a bag of groceries, smiling like she belonged here, like she hadn't been standing in my bedroom at 3 a.m, whispering about how I was going to die. "Good morning, everyone," she said brightly. "I thought I'd make lunch. Lyris needs to eat more. She's looking so pale." Nonna Vespera turned slowly to face her. The smile on Seraphine's face faltered. "Just for a second. But I saw it." "Seraphine," Nonna said, her voice calm and quiet. "Sit." It wasn't a request. Seraphine hesitated, then set the groceries on the counter and sat down at the dining table. Nonna sat across from her, folding her hands neatly on the table. Cassian stood behind her, silent, watching. I stayed on the couch, my hands resting on my belly, feeling the baby kick nervously inside me. Nonna studied Seraphine for a long moment. Then she spoke. "Tell me, Kara, how long have you been visiting my grandson's home at night?" Seraphine blinked. "I what?" "I came by last night because Lyris needed help. I told Cassian." "At 3 a.m, Nonna interrupted softly. "Without calling first, without permission." Seraphine's smile was gone now. Her jaw tightened. "I'm her sister. I don't need permission." Nonna leaned forward slightly, her eyes never leaving Seraphine's face. "And 2 weeks ago," she continued, "you were here, on the stairs, with Lyris." Seraphine's face went pale. "That was an accident," she said quickly. "She lost her balance. I tried to help her." Nonna didn't respond. She just kept staring. The silence stretched out, thick and suffocating. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Finally, Nonna spoke again, her voice softer now, almost gentle. "Do you know what I see when I look at you, Seraphine?" Seraphine didn't answer. "I see a woman who wants something that doesn't belong to her." Nonna's voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it. "Something she will never have." Seraphine's hands clenched into fists on the table. "Some people get everything handed to them late in life," she said bitterly. "Must be nice." Nonna smiled. It was the coldest smile I'd ever seen. "Cassian," she said quietly, without looking away from Seraphine. "Call Marco. Tell him to follow the little sister." Quietly, Cassian pulled out his phone. Seraphine stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. "I don't have to sit here and listen to this," she snapped. Nonna didn't move. "No," she agreed softly. "You don't. But if you come back to this house uninvited again, you won't be leaving." Seraphine stared at her for a long moment. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The second she was gone, I felt the pain in my back flare up again. Sharper this time. I gasped, pressing my hand against my stomach. Nonna was beside me in an instant, her hand on my shoulder. "Breathe, Kara," she said gently. "Breathe." I looked up at her, tears burning in my eyes. "Nonna," I whispered. "What if she comes back?" Nonna's hand tightened on my shoulder. "Then I will handle it." Her voice was soft, but her eyes promised blood. 3 days passed, and Seraphine didn't come back. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt like I was waiting for something terrible to happen. Cassian hired 2 guards to watch the building entrance. Marco, one of Nonna's oldest soldiers, followed Seraphine everywhere she went. He sent reports every few hours. Grocery store, pharmacy, coffee shop, nothing unusual. But I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the apartment made me jump. Every shadow looked like her. The baby seemed to sense my fear too, kicking constantly, restless and angry inside me. On the 4th day, I decided to finish the nursery. It was the only thing that made me feel normal. The room was small but perfect, with soft cream walls and a window overlooking the city. Cassian had bought everything: white furniture, tiny clothes, soft blankets that smelled like lavender, and in the center of the room was the cradle. It was beautiful. Hand-carved wood painted white, with delicate flowers etched along the sides. Cassian's grandfather had made it decades ago in Italy. It was a family heirloom, passed down through generations. I stood there for a long time, just staring at it, imagining my baby sleeping inside. Then I reached down to smooth the blanket. My hand touched something sharp. I pulled back instantly, a thin line of blood appearing across my fingertip. My heart started racing. I lifted the blanket carefully, my hands shaking. Underneath, tucked exactly where the baby's head would rest, was a piece of broken mirror. Not just any piece. It was shaped like a triangle, razor sharp on all 3 edges, positioned perfectly so that if a baby moved even slightly, it would cut. I stumbled backward, my hand pressed against my mouth, trying not to scream. The room spun. My knees felt weak. I could see it so clearly in my mind: blood on the white sheets, tiny hands reaching, a baby crying and then going silent. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." I heard footsteps behind me. I spun around. my heart slamming against my ribs. Seraphine was standing in the doorway. She looked calm, almost peaceful. Her hair was pulled back, and she was wearing a soft pink sweater that made her look innocent, harmless. "Lyris," she said gently. "Are you okay? You look pale. How did you get in here?" My voice was shaking, barely a whisper. "The doorman knows me," she said, smiling. "I'm your sister. Why wouldn't he let me in?" I pointed at the cradle, my hand trembling. "Did you put that there?" She tilted her head, confused. "Put what where?" "The glass. The mirror." In the cradle, her eyes widened, all innocence and shock. "What?" "Lyris, I would never—" "Stop lying!" I screamed, and the baby kicked hard, like it was agreeing with me. "I know it was you. I know what you're doing." Seraphine's face changed. The sweet, concerned expression melted away, replaced by something cold and empty. She took a step closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "You can't prove anything." My chest tightened. Pain shot through my lower back again, sharper this time, wrapping around my hips like a vice. "Stay away from me," I said, backing toward the door. "Stay away from my baby." Seraphine smiled. "Your baby?" she said softly. "You mean the baby you're going to drop dead trying to deliver? The baby that's going to need someone to raise it when you're gone?" She stepped closer. "I could be that someone, Lyris. I could give it everything. Love, safety, a real mother." I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't move. The pain in my back was getting worse, spreading down my thighs. Then I heard Cassian's voice from the hallway. "Lyris?" Seraphine's face shifted again, instant and perfect. She turned toward the door, her eyes wide and worried. "Cassian." "Thank God," she said, her voice trembling. "I think something's wrong with Lyris. She's not making sense. She's saying I did something to the baby's room, but I just got here." Cassian walked in, his eyes moving from Seraphine to me to the cradle. He saw the broken glass immediately. His jaw tightened. His eyes went dark. "Get out," he said quietly. Seraphine blinked. "What?" "Get out." She stared at him for a long moment, then turned and walked out of the room without another word. The second she was gone, Cassian pulled out his phone and took a photo of the glass in the cradle. Then he called someone. "Marco," he said, "send me everything you have on Seraphine. Right now." He hung up and looked at me. "Are you hurt?" I shook my head, tears streaming down my face. "Cassian, she's trying to kill our baby." He pulled me into his arms, his hand pressed against the back of my head. "I know," he said quietly, "and she's not going to get the chance." Chapter 5. Marco's report came in 2 hours later. Cassian and I sat in his office while he opened the file on his laptop. His face got darker with every photo he clicked through. Seraphine at a hardware store, buying rope. Seraphine at a pharmacy, purchasing sedatives over-the-counter sleeping pills, but enough bottles to put someone to sleep permanently. Seraphine at a storage rental facility, carrying a duffel bag inside. And the worst one, Seraphine standing outside our building at 4 a.m., just watching, staring up at our window. "She's been planning this," Cassian said quietly. His voice was calm, but I could see the rage burning behind his eyes. "For weeks." I felt sick. "What do we do?" I whispered. He closed the laptop and looked at me. "I'm meeting Nana tonight. She'll handle it." "Handle it how?" He didn't answer. I reached across the desk and grabbed his hand. "Cassian, she's still my sister. She tried to kill you," he said, his voice hard. "Twice. And she's planning something worse. I'm not letting her get a third chance. But, no." His grip on my hand tightened. "I love you, Lyris. And I love our baby. If I have to choose between her life and yours, there's no choice." I wanted to argue. I wanted to beg him to find another way. But deep down, I knew he was right. That evening, Cassian left for his meeting with Nana. I stayed home, alone, with 2 guards stationed outside the apartment door. I tried to rest. I lay down on the couch, my hand on my belly, whispering to the baby that everything was going to be okay. But I couldn't stop thinking about Seraphine, about the little girl she used to be, the sister who held my hand on the first day of school, who cried with me when our mother died. When did she become this? Around 8 p.m., there was a knock on the door. I froze. One of the guards called through the door. "Mrs. Moretti, you have a visitor. Your sister. She says it's urgent." My heart dropped into my stomach. "Don't let her in," I called back, my voice shaking. There was a pause. Then Seraphine's voice, soft and pleading. "Lyris, please, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I need to talk to you. Just 5 minutes. Please." I didn't move. I know I've been horrible, she continued, her voice breaking. I've been jealous and cruel, and I don't know what's wrong with me. But I need help, Lyris. I need my sister, please. She sounded so broken, so real. Against every instinct screaming at me to stay away, I stood up and walked to the door. Open it, I told the guard quietly. He hesitated. Ma'am, Mr. Moretti said. I know what he said. Open it. He unlocked the door. Seraphine stood in the hallway, her face red and tear-streaked, her hands clasped together like she was praying. She looked small, fragile. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. She stepped inside, and the guard closed the door behind her. We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. Then Seraphine smiled, and I knew I'd made a terrible mistake. You're so predictable, Lyris, she said softly, her tears drying instantly. Always wanting to see the good in people, even when there's nothing good left. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small glass bottle. I brought tea, she said, to help you relax. You've been so stressed lately. It's not good for the baby. My blood went cold. Get out, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Not yet. She walked past me into the kitchen, filling the kettle with water like she owned the place. Sit down, Lyris. Let me take care of you, like a good sister should. I backed toward the door, but she was faster. She stepped in front of me, blocking my path, the kettle in one hand and the bottle in the other. Don't make this harder than it needs to be, she said quietly. The baby kicked, hard, like it was trying to warn me. I looked at the bottle in her hand, then at her face. What's in it? I asked. She smiled. Does it matter? I grabbed the bottle from her hand and poured it into the potted plant on the counter. Within seconds, the leaves started to curl, turning brown at the edges, almost like they were burning from the inside. Seraphine's smile disappeared. You stupid, stupid woman, she hissed. She grabbed my face with both hands, her nails digging into my cheeks. I will have what's inside you, she whispered, her face inches from mine. One way or another, even if I have to cut it out myself. The guards burst through the door, pulling her off me. She screamed and fought, but they dragged her into the hallway. I collapsed onto the floor, my hands pressed against my stomach, shaking so hard I thought I might break apart. My phone buzzed. A text from Cassian. Stay inside. Don't open the door for anyone, Nana's decided. I stared at the message, my heart pounding. Then I heard Nana Vespera's voice from the hallway, calm and cold. Bring her to me. Chapter 6. Cassian came home an hour later. He found me sitting on the kitchen floor, my back against the cabinets, staring at the dead plant on the counter. I couldn't stop shaking. The baby was kicking frantically, like it knew something terrible was happening. Lyris. He knelt down in front of me, his hands cupping my face. Are you hurt? I shook my head. She tried to poison me, I whispered. The tea. She tried to. I know. His jaw was tight, his eyes dark and furious. Marco told me. She's gone now. Nana has her. Where? He didn't answer. I grabbed his shirt, my fingers twisting into the fabric. Cassian, where did they take her? The bakery, he said quietly. In Red Hook. Nana's meeting us there. I want to go. No. You need to stay here and rest. The baby. I need to see her. My voice cracked. One last time. Please. He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. 20 minutes later, we were in the car, driving through Brooklyn in the middle of the night. The streets were empty, slick with rain. I pressed my hand against the window, watching the city blur past, my other hand resting on my stomach. The baby had gone quiet. Too quiet. We pulled up outside an old Italian bakery that hadn't been open to the public in decades. It belonged to Nana's family. Now it was used for other things that didn't involve bread. Cassian helped me out of the car, his arm around my waist, supporting my weight. Every step hurt. My back ached. My hips felt like they were splitting apart, and I could feel the baby pressing down, lower than before. Inside, the bakery smelled like flour and something metallic. Blood. Nana Vespera sat at a table in the back, her hands folded neatly in front of her. Two men stood on either side of her, silent and still. And in the center of the room, tied to a chair, was Seraphine. Her face was bruised, her lip was bleeding, but her eyes were still defiant, burning with rage. Lyris, she spat when she saw me. Come to watch? Come to see what your precious Mafia family does to people who get in their way? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Nana stood slowly, her eyes moving from Seraphine to me. Lyris, Kara, she said gently. You should not have come. This is not something you need to see. I needed to see her, I whispered. One last time. Nana studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. She walked over to Seraphine and knelt down in front of her, her old bones creaking slightly. When she spoke, her voice was soft, almost kind. Tell me, child, why did you do it? Seraphine laughed, bitter and sharp. Because she doesn't deserve it, she said, her eyes locked on me. She's too old, too weak, too broken, and yet she gets everything. The powerful husband, the baby, the perfect life. While I get nothing. So you tried to take it, Nana said quietly. I tried to save it, Seraphine snapped. From her. From this family. From all of you. Nana stood, brushing off her dress. You were going to kill her, she said. And take the child. Seraphine didn't deny it. Nana turned to Cassian, her face calm and expressionless. You want her sent away? She asked. Out of the country? New identity? Clean break? Cassian looked at me. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Waiting. This was my choice. Save my sister, or save my baby. I opened my mouth to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, a sharp, tearing pain ripped through my abdomen, so strong I gasped and doubled over. Lyris. Cassian caught me before I fell. It's too early, I whispered, my voice panicked. The baby, it's too early. Another wave of pain hit, stronger this time, and I felt something warm and wet spreading down my legs. My water had broken. Nana moved fast, snapping orders at the men in rapid Italian. Cassian lifted me into his arms, carrying me toward the door, and as we left, I looked back at Seraphine one last time. She was still sitting in that chair, staring at me with empty, hollow eyes. Nonna Vespera stood beside her, silent and still. Goodbye, Seraphine, I whispered. Nana leaned down and said something I couldn't hear. Then the door closed behind us, and I never saw my sister again. The pain was everywhere. It started in my lower back, then wrapped around my hips like a belt being tightened with every breath. Then it moved down, deep and brutal, like something was trying to tear me in half from the inside. Drive faster, Cassian said to the driver, his voice sharp and controlled, but I could hear the fear underneath. I was lying across the back seat, my head in his lap, his hand pressed against my forehead. He was saying something, but I couldn't hear him over the sound of my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. It's too early, I gasped. Cassian, it's too early. The baby's going to be fine, he said firmly. And so are you. But his hand was shaking. We didn't go to a hospital. We went to a private clinic in Bay Ridge, tucked between a dry cleaner and a closed-down deli. From the outside, it looked abandoned. Inside, it was pristine. White walls, bright lights, equipment that looked brand new. This was where the Moretti family came when they couldn't go to a real hospital. When there were bullet wounds that couldn't be explained. When someone needed to disappear off official records. Tonight, it was where I was going to give birth. They wheeled me into a room that smelled like antiseptic and fear. 2 doctors I'd never seen before were already there, pulling on gloves, checking monitors. A nurse took my hand, her voice calm and steady. You're going to be okay, Mrs. Moretti. We're going to take care of you. But I wasn't listening. All I could think about was Seraphine, her face in that chair, the way she looked at me, the hate, the emptiness, and Nana's voice, cold and final. You cannot exile poison. You burn it. Another contraction hit, and I screamed. Cassian was beside me, gripping my hand so hard I thought he might break my fingers. Breathe, Lyris. Just breathe. I can't. Yes, you can. His voice was fierce. You're the strongest person I know. You can do this. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time didn't make sense anymore. Everything blurred together, pain, voices, hands pressing on my stomach, monitors beeping, someone saying my blood pressure was too high, someone else saying the baby's heart rate was dropping. Then, in the middle of it all, Cassian's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, his face tight, a text. One word, done. He stared at it for a long moment, then looked at me. I knew what it meant. Seraphine was gone. Not arrested. Not sent away. Gone. Cassian, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. What did we do? He leaned down, his forehead pressed against mine. We protected our family, he said quietly. That's all we did. Another contraction ripped through me, and I forgot everything else. The pain, the fear, the guilt. All that mattered was the baby. I pushed until I thought my body would break, until I couldn't breathe, until the room started to go dark at the edges, and then I heard it. A cry, tiny, weak, but alive. "It's a boy," the doctor said, his voice soft with relief. Cassian's hand tightened on mine. They placed the baby on my chest, and I looked down at him through tears. He was so small, so fragile. His skin was red and wrinkled, his eyes squeezed shut, his little fists curled tight. He was perfect. "Hello, baby," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I'm your mama. I've been waiting for you." Cassian kissed my forehead, then the baby's. "He's beautiful," he said, his voice thick with emotion. Outside, in the distance, I heard the sound of rain hitting the pavement, and somewhere in the dark, in a place I would never see, my sister disappeared into the night, forever. The baby's name was Dante. Cassian chose it. It meant enduring. After everything we'd been through, it felt right. We stayed at the clinic for 2 days. No visitors, no records. Just the 3 of us in a quiet room that smelled like baby powder and clean sheets. Dante was small, 5 pounds, 3 ounces, but healthy. The doctor said his lungs were strong. His heart was perfect. He was a fighter, just like his father. I spent hours just watching him sleep in the tiny hospital bassinet, watching his chest rise and fall, his little fingers twitching in his sleep. Sometimes he would make soft noises, like he was dreaming, and I would reach down and touch his hand, and he would wrap his fingers around mine. Cassian barely left my side. He sat in the chair next to my bed, his eyes dark and tired, his hand always within reach. He didn't talk much, but I could see it in his face, the relief, the fear, the weight of what we'd done. On the second night, I asked the question I'd been too afraid to ask. "Where is she?" Cassian looked at me for a long moment. "You don't need to know that." "Yes, I do." He sighed and leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "Nana handled it," he said quietly. "Seraphine's gone. No one will ever find her. No case, no investigation. Just gone." "Did she suffer?" He didn't answer right away. Then, very quietly, "Nana doesn't waste time." I closed my eyes, tears slipping down my cheeks. "She was my sister," I whispered. "She tried to kill you," Cassian said, his voice hard. "She tried to kill our son. She made her choice, Lyris, and we made ours." I knew he was right, but it didn't stop the guilt. That night, while Cassian slept in the chair and Dante slept in my arms, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it, my heart racing. It was a voice message. I pressed play, holding the phone to my ear. At first, there was nothing, just silence. Then I heard it, breathing, slow, shallow, and in the background, very faint, the sound of water, like waves lapping against a dock. Then the message ended. I stared at the phone, my hands shaking. It was Seraphine's number, but she was gone, wasn't she? I deleted the message and put the phone down, my heart pounding. I told myself it was nothing, a glitch, a wrong number. But deep down, I knew. Someone wanted me to know what happened to her. We came home 3 days later. The penthouse felt different, quieter, safer. The guards were still outside, but the fear that had been choking me for weeks was finally starting to lift. Dante slept most of the day, curled up in the white cradle, the same one where Seraphine had left the broken glass. Cassian had cleaned it, inspected it, made sure every inch was safe. Now it was just a cradle, nothing more. I tried to feel normal. I tried to focus on feeding Dante, changing him, singing to him in the middle of the night when he cried. I tried to be a mother, but I couldn't stop thinking about Seraphine, about the voicemail, the breathing, the water. On the 5th day, Nonna Vespera came to visit. She arrived at noon, carrying a small box wrapped in white paper. She moved slowly through the apartment, her sharp eyes taking in everything, the cradle, the baby clothes, the exhaustion on my face. "Lyris," she said gently. "You look tired." "I am," I admitted. She set the box on the table and walked over to the cradle, looking down at Dante with an expression I'd never seen on her face before. Softness. "He is beautiful," she said quietly. "Strong, like his father." She reached down and gently touched his tiny hand. Dante's fingers curled around hers, and for a moment, Nana's face softened even more. "This is the only family that matters now," she said, her voice low. "Do you understand, Lyris?" I nodded, my throat tight. She straightened, her face returning to its usual calm, unreadable mask. "Your sister made a choice," she continued. "She chose jealousy. She chose violence. And when someone chooses to hurt family, they are no longer family." "Where is she, Nana?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Nana looked at me for a long moment. She is where she can never hurt you again. Is she alive? Nana didn't answer. Instead, she picked up the white box and handed it to me. This is for you. Open it when you are ready. Then she kissed my forehead, the way she used to when I first married Cassian, and left. I sat there for a long time, staring at the box. Finally, I opened it. Inside was a single item, a silver necklace. It had been Seraphine's. I recognized it immediately. Our mother had given it to her before she died. I picked it up, my hands shaking, and noticed something engraved on the back of the pendant. 2 words in Italian. Sangue tradito. Betrayed blood. I dropped the necklace back into the box and closed it, tears streaming down my face. That night, I stood by the window with Dante in my arms, looking out over the East River. The water was dark and still, reflecting the city lights like broken glass. I whispered to the darkness, "I'm sorry, Seraphine. I'm so sorry." But I wasn't sure if I meant it, because when I looked down at my son, his tiny face, his soft breath, his perfect little hands, I knew I would make the same choice again. I would always choose him, even if it meant becoming a monster. Cassian came up behind me, wrapping his arms around both of us. "You okay?" he asked quietly. "No," I whispered. "But I will be." He kissed the top of my head. "We protected him," he said. "That's all that matters." I nodded, but as I stared out at the river, I couldn't stop thinking about the voicemail, the breathing, the water, and I couldn't help but wonder, did Nana really make Seraphine disappear? Or was she still out there somewhere, watching, waiting, planning her revenge? I held Dante closer, my arms tightening around him. "No one will ever hurt you," I whispered. "I promise." And somewhere in the darkness, the river kept its secrets. 6 months passed. Dante was growing. His eyes had turned dark like Cassian's, and he smiled now, real, genuine smiles that made my heart ache with love. He slept through most nights. He laughed when Cassian made funny faces. He was perfect. I should have been happy, but I couldn't stop looking over my shoulder. Every sound made me jump. Every stranger on the street made me hold Dante closer. Every time the phone rang, my heart stopped, waiting for that breathing sound again. Cassian noticed. "You need to sleep," he said one night, finding me awake at 3 a.m., staring out the window with Dante in my arms. "I can't," I whispered. "Lyris, she's gone. Nana made sure of it. Then why do I keep feeling like she's still here?" He didn't have an answer. 2 weeks later, a package arrived. It came in the morning, delivered by regular mail. Plain brown box. No return address. Just my name written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Cassian wasn't home. He'd left early for a meeting in Manhattan. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the box, my hands shaking. I should have called him. Should have waited, but I didn't. I opened it. Inside was Seraphine's journal, the leather one she'd carried everywhere since she was a teenager. I recognized the worn cover, the broken clasp, the coffee stain on the corner. My breath caught in my throat. Underneath the journal was a folded piece of paper. I picked it up with trembling fingers and unfolded it. The message was typed. Clean, simple. "Did you really think you could erase me? I know what you did. I know what Nana did. And soon, everyone else will too. Sleep well, big sister." The paper slipped from my hands and fluttered to the floor. No, this wasn't possible. She was dead, gone, disappeared forever, wasn't she? I grabbed my phone and called Cassian. It rang twice before he picked up. "Lyris? What's wrong?" "Someone sent me Seraphine's journal," I said, my voice shaking, with a note. "Cassian, they know. They know what we did." There was a long silence. "I'm coming home," he said quietly. "Don't touch anything else. Lock the doors. I'll be there in 20 minutes. He hung up. I stood there, holding Dante against my chest, staring at the journal on the counter. Then, slowly, I reached out and opened it. The last entry was dated the night she disappeared, but there was something new. A fresh page, torn from another notebook and tucked inside. On it, in Seraphine's handwriting, were 3 words. "I'm still watching." I dropped the journal like it was on fire. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I opened it, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might explode. It was a photo of me, taken yesterday, standing outside our building, holding Dante, smiling at something Cassian had said. The message beneath it read, "Beautiful baby. Would be a shame if something happened to him." I screamed. Not a scream of fear, a scream of rage. Because whoever this was, whoever was doing this, had just crossed the line. They'd threatened my son, and I would burn the world down before I let anyone hurt him. Chapter 11. Cassian came home with Nana. They moved through the apartment like soldiers preparing for war. Cassian checked every window, every lock, every corner. Nana sat at the kitchen table, reading the note, studying the photo, her face carved from stone. I sat on the couch, holding Dante so tight he started to fuss. "Who is it?" I asked, my voice hollow. "Who's doing this?" Nana looked up from the photo. "Someone who wants revenge," she said quietly. "Or money, or both." "But Seraphine is dead," Cassian said, his jaw tight. I saw the confirmation myself. "Nana, you told me it was handled." "It was," Nana said, her voice cold. "Your wife's sister is at the bottom of the East River. I put her there myself." The words hung in the air like ice. "Then who?" I started. "Someone who cared about her," Nana interrupted. "A friend, a lover. Someone who knew what she was planning and is now finishing what she started." My blood ran cold. Cassian pulled out his phone and made a call. "Marco, I need you to pull everything: phone records, financials, surveillance on Seraphine Caldwell for the 6 months before she disappeared. Find out who she was talking to, who she trusted." He hung up and looked at me. "We're going to find them," he said. "And we're going to end this." "What if they go to the police?" I whispered. "What if they have proof?" Nana laughed. It was a dark, bitter sound. "Proof of what, Kara? There is no body, no crime scene, no witnesses. Just the paranoid ramblings of someone who claims a woman disappeared, a woman who, officially, is traveling in Europe." She pulled out her own phone and showed me the screen. It was Seraphine's Instagram account, still active, still posting, photos of beaches, cafes, sunsets over foreign cities, all fake, all controlled by Nana's people. "As far as the world knows," Nana said quietly, "your sister is alive and well." "Then what do they want?" I asked. Before anyone could answer, my phone buzzed again. Another message. This time it was a video. I opened it, my hands shaking. The video was dark, grainy, like it had been filmed on an old phone. It showed the inside of the bakery, the same room where I'd seen Seraphine tied to that chair. The camera moved slowly, showing the empty space, the bloodstains still faint on the concrete floor. Then a voice. Female, distorted, robotic. "I have everything. Photos, video, proof. If you want it to stay buried, you'll pay $5 million. Delivered to the location I send you tomorrow night. Come alone. Or I send this to every news station in New York." The video ended. I looked up at Cassian, my heart racing. "We can't let this get out," I whispered. "If people find out, if the police start asking questions." "They won't," Cassian said, his voice hard. "Because we're going to handle this." "How?" I demanded. "She has proof, Cassian. She has everything." Nana stood slowly, straightening her dress. "Then we give her what she wants," she said calmly. "You want to pay her?" Cassian asked, his eyes narrowing. "No," Nana said, a cold smile spreading across her face. "I want to meet her, and when she comes for the money, we make her disappear too." "What if there are copies?" I asked. "What if she already sent the files to someone else?" "Then we find that person," Nana said simply, "and we erase them, and anyone else who knows, one by one, until the thread is gone." She looked at me, her eyes dark and steady. "This is what it means to be part of this family, Lyris. We do not run. We do not hide. We eliminate threats." I looked down at Dante, sleeping peacefully in my arms. 6 months ago, I would have been horrified by Nana's words. Now I just nodded. "Tell me where to be," I said quietly, "and I'll be there." Cassian's eyes widened. "No, absolutely not. You're staying here with Dante where it's safe." "She's threatening my son," I said, my voice steady and cold. "I want to look her in the eye when you make her disappear." Nana smiled. "Good," she said softly. "You are learning." Chapter 12. The meeting was set for midnight at an abandoned warehouse in Red Hook. Cassian didn't want me there. He argued for hours, his voice rising, his hands gripping my shoulders. "This is dangerous, Lyris. These people are not playing games." "Neither am I," I said quietly. In the end, Nana sided with me. "Let her come," she said. "She has earned the right to see this through." Dante stayed home with 2 of Cassian's most trusted guards and a nurse Nana had hired years ago. I kissed his forehead 100 times before I left, whispering promises I intended to keep. "Mama will come back. I promise." The warehouse smelled like rust and old oil. The floor was slick with rainwater that had leaked through the broken roof. Cassian, Nana, Marco, and 2 other men stood in the shadows, waiting. I stood in the center, wearing a long black coat, my hands buried in my pockets. At 12:03 a.m., the door creaked open. A figure stepped inside, female, tall, wearing a hood that covered her face. She walked slowly toward me, stopping 10 feet away. "Did you bring the money?" Her voice was still distorted, coming through some kind of electronic device. "Did you bring the proof?" I asked, my voice steady. She held up a USB drive. "Everything's on here. Photos, video, audio recordings of Seraphine describing what your family did to her. Enough to put all of you away for life." "Give it to me," I said. She laughed. "Money first." Cassian stepped out of the shadows, carrying a black duffel bag. He dropped it at her feet. She knelt down, unzipped it, and pulled out a stack of bills. "Real money." Nana didn't bluff. "Smart," the woman said. Then she pulled off her hood. I gasped. It wasn't a stranger. It was Seraphine's old roommate, a woman named Claire. I'd met her once, years ago, at a birthday party. "You," I whispered. "Me," Claire said, smiling coldly. "Seraphine told me everything. About you. About your mafia husband. About how you were going to steal the life she deserved. And when she disappeared, I knew exactly what happened. She tried to kill me," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "She tried to poison my baby. She was trying to save that baby," Claire hissed. "From you. From this family. And you murdered her for it." "She made her choice," Nana said, stepping forward. "And now you've made yours." Claire raised her hand. In it was a small remote. "I uploaded copies to a cloud server," she said, her voice triumphant. "If I don't enter a password every 24 hours, everything gets sent automatically to the FBI, the NYPD, and every major news outlet in the country. So if you kill me, you lose." Nana smiled. "Smart girl," she said softly. Then Marco moved. Fast, silent. The remote was knocked out of Claire's hand before she could react. 2 men grabbed her arms, dragging her backward. "Wait," Claire screamed. "The files. You can't. We already have them," Nana said calmly. Marco held up a phone. On the screen was Claire's cloud account. Already accessed. Already deleted. "How?" Claire's face went pale. "You think you are the first person to threaten this family?" Nana asked, her voice almost pitying. "You think we do not have people everywhere? In your phone company, your internet provider, your bank." She walked closer, her face cold and calm. "We've been watching you since the moment you sent that first message. We know where you live, where you work, who you talk to, and now we know you worked alone." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "Please," she whispered. "Please, I won't say anything. I'll disappear. I swear." Nana looked at me. "This is your choice, Laris. She threatened your son. What do you want us to do?" I stared at Claire. At the fear in her eyes, the desperation. 6 months ago, I would have begged for mercy. Now? Make her disappear, I said quietly. Just like Seraphine. Nana nodded. Claire screamed as they dragged her toward the back door. I turned away. Cassian pulled me into his arms, holding me tight. "It's over," he whispered. "It's finally over." But as we walked out of that warehouse, I knew the truth. It would never really be over. Because once you cross that line, once you choose to become a monster to protect the ones you love, there's no going back. I thought of Dante, of his innocent smile, his tiny hands, and I knew I would do it all again, 1,000 times over, because that's what mothers do. We protect our children, no matter the cost.